Hey everybody. So in this video, we have a very special guest with us. He's been on the channel many, many times, a good friend of the channel, a good friend of mine. His name is George Falcione from the Grand Circle Tour. George, welcome back to the channel, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's always great to be back.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So we have a lot to discuss today. So a few days ago, Disney surprised us all with the announcement that they're actually re-theming Splash Mountain to Princess and the Frog. So we're going to dive into this topic quite a bit today. But what are your initial thoughts and feelings on that announcement?
Well, first of all, I have to say Splash Mountain is near and dear to my heart. It's one of my, I would even say top 3 attractions at Disney. I mean, it was always a fun ride. I love the music, love the characters, love the storyline. But what a lot of people, didn't know was that the attraction was attached to this long, controversial film that a lot of people really didn't know about. And some people did and what have you. And they, from what I've heard, that Disney has been planning on with rumors a few years ago that they were going to revamp Splash Mountain and change the theme and everything. And anytime you hear rumors flying around, you never know what's true and what's not. So it's like, I just didn't think nothing of it. I thought, Splash Mountain's not going anywhere. It's too original. It's too classic. It's not going anywhere. And then with everything that's been going on in today's time, and then with the talk with the petition and everything, and I thought, oh, could this really be true that it's going to be rethemed? And sure enough, kablam, there it was. We got a piece of concept art from Disney, and my jaw just dropped. I mean, initially, because as I said, I have a special place for Splash Mountain. It's one of my favorite attractions. And for me, I would have to say I have kind of mixed feelings, not just about changing it in general, but because with both resorts. For me, transitioning it into Princess and the Frog, I think would be great for Disneyland because it's already in Critter Country, which is adjacent to New Orleans Square.
Right.
So if they were to change that to the Princess and the Frog, they can literally expand the New Orleans Square section, kind of take out Critter Country. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, well, what about Pooh? What about Pooh? But I mean, then Pooh would stick out like a sore thumb because Pooh is English,
Right.
so it's like 2 different sides of the globe there. But for me, I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with Walt Disney World because it's in Frontierland. So essentially you would have the section with Pecco's Bill Restaurant, Country Bear Jamboree, and then you have the Princess and the Frog, and then right next to it you have Big Thunder and Tom Sawyer Island.
Yeah.
So it's like you have Louisiana cut right in the middle of the old frontier.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's my feeling. I mean, I think for Disneyland, it's almost kind of a flawless addition because you have like you said, Splash Mountain sits in between New Orleans Square and Critter Country, and Princess and the Frog sort of kind of speaks to both of those lands in a way. I mean, obviously it speaks to New Orleans Square, but it even kind of speaks to Critter Country in a way with the alligators and those other, like the animals in that film can kind of, it kind of meshes well with Critter Country too. So it's really the perfect segue from New Orleans into Critter Country. But like you said, it's in a completely different situation in Florida. It's right smack dab in Frontierland. Now, I don't know how much, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I think that it is kind of a weird fit. But then again, Song of the South would probably be a weird fit in Frontierland to begin with. So it was kind of always a weird
that is
spot
true
to put it in a way, right?
Yeah. I mean, if they really wanted to keep it that frontier type of theme, I was thinking maybe if they were going to change the theme, change it to Pocahontas.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because they would already have that kind of frontier type of thing with, the land and everything. And then, of course, during the scene in Pocahontas where she's singing Just Around the River Bend, and you see her going down the waterfall and everything, it's like, okay, that would have been a perfect fit too.
That would have been great. That would have been great.
And I think that's the thing for me. And I know it's much cheaper for Disney to do two of the same attraction, but I think it would have been great if they would have made The Princess and the Frog be for Disneyland and then come up with a whole nother type of retheming for Disney World.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think that's the problem. I think that's an overarching problem with Disney in general right now, is this one size fits all kind of thing. You know, what fits perfectly in one park doesn't necessarily fit so perfectly in another. And like you said, it's cheaper to do two at once. But, you know, I think there should be some kind of integrity in terms of theming. You know, so yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. You did mention an interesting thing too. You mentioned that this was, you know, that Disney planned this, or there was plans and concept art, and they were talking about it for over a year. And a lot of people are sort of contributing the recent petitions to the change. What are your thoughts on that? Like, what are your feelings on that? Like, what happened here exactly?
Well, I mean, I've heard a lot of things going around that essentially Disney started the petition to kind of see where everyone was at. What do they think about retheming Splash Mountain? Because essentially, aside from the controversy, Splash Mountain was a very popular attraction on both coasts.
Right.
I mean, you would have 2 to 3 hour wait times at times without a fast pass. And especially in the hot Florida and California heat, you know, you love going on rides like that. So, I mean, I personally think that Disney already kind of had an idea of approach of taking the Brer Rabbit story out, because even when Disney Plus debuted, Bob Iger put his foot down and he said Song of the South is not going on there
Yeah.
by all means. He flat out said it. It will not ever be on Disney Plus. So for the CEO of this big global billion-dollar company saying a movie is not going on Disney Plus, but you're also going to have an attraction that is linked to that film. I mean, I think a lot of people really didn't think about it too much because it wasn't brought up in social media. It wasn't brought out in world news. But now, since it has, I think it kind of pushed Disney that even though they announced it at this time, but I think it kind of pushed them to say, okay, we had this in the plans. Let's get this up and running, especially what's going on in the world today.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the plans have been on the books for a while. I believe Disney when they say that they've been throwing around these concepts for over a year or more. I definitely believe that there has been talks and plans and artwork and all that being done for a very long time. But I also think the petitions are what kind of spurred, kind of like lit a fire under Disney to act now and green light now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And especially with Disney, I mean, comparing them to Universal, when they have an idea, it's like it's open tomorrow. Where with Disney, they love to take their time. They like to explore different technologies, different themings, different storylines. Everything starts in the blue sky process for them, and it goes off from there. So I seriously doubt that they would have had that concept art done in 24 hours.
Yeah, there's no way.
That would have had to be something that was being planned. And the actress who plays Tiana, Anika Noni Rose, she actually was already involved with this project.
Oh, so it's been around for a while.
Yeah, so she even knew. She made a statement, and she said, and I'm quoting her, guests are going to be over the moon about this attraction. So they already have the voice actors involved. They have the concept art. They have the initial idea of what's going on. And you and I both know Disney. They don't like to announce things too far ahead. Like they love to give curveballs at when nobody is watching.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that this has been in the works for a long time. And people, you know, Disney has been sort of going in to their older attractions and sort of like fixing like problematic scenes and elements of old attractions for quite a while now. Most recently with Pirates, when they got rid of the wench auction
Hmm.
scene, and that was, I think, like a year or two ago. But then even like long time ago, like even under Michael Eisner, they were doing this because like Pirates, I don't know how it affected Florida, but Pirates here in California under Michael Eisner, the pirates were chasing the women. It was a very kind of sexualized
Risque, yeah.
situation. And then Michael Eisner said, "No, can't have it." And he put like food. They put food like loaves of bread, like baguettes, under the woman's arms, so it looked like the men were chasing the women for the food
For the
instead.
food.
Changes like that have been going on for a long time, and even like again with Pirates or like Tom Sawyer's Island and things like that, you can actually buy like rifles and guns in Frontierland and what have you. And I think it was under Michael Eisner again, they put a stop to that. So there's been this movement for a very long time to sort of go back and sort of fix problematic things of yesteryear, so to speak. So this isn't like too new for Disney, not too incredibly new. But it's interesting nonetheless.
Oh, definitely. And kind of going back to what you were saying that of how it would fit in Disneyland, where it kind of has both that quality of New Orleans Square and Critter Country, that if they were to keep Critter Country, then what they could do is maybe find some space and build Tiana's Place, actually build a restaurant.
Yes.
So that would fit in with the New Orleans style. And then as you go into the ride, it starts to integrate into Critter Country.
That'd be beautiful. I would love that. And I'll be honest with you, George. I've never been a huge Pooh fan. Like I don't love our Pooh attraction. I don't hate it. I don't think it's terrible, but I've never been a huge Pooh fan. I could do without it, to be quite honest. They could put something else there, and I wouldn't lose any sleep.
Definitely. And the Grand Circle Tours, Jason, what he loves to say is Disney just needs to flush Pooh.
Flush them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean it's probably now with Princess and the Frog coming in. I think it's probably time for Disney to think about the future of that Pooh attraction. And yeah. I'm not even saying it doesn't even have to be necessarily Princess and the Frog, but put another dark ride in there that fits the theme a little better.
Yeah.
I mean, just put something in there that kind of fits the area a little better than that. Yeah, I think they kind of rushed and put Pooh in there because in the early 2000s, Pooh was like the hottest property. It was like,
it was. I mean, Pooh merchandise was selling out more than Mickey.
Yes, I remember that.
And it was, so I just think that they just had to find a place and thought, okay, they're woodland animals, so let's put them in Critter Country.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, I was looking over the concept art for this new Princess and the Frog overlay or re-theme, and I really love the aesthetics of this thing. I mean, Splash Mountain's a cool looking ride. It's always been a cool looking ride, but I like the idea of that big tree being, it's no longer going to be like this kind of blown out like tree trunk. It's going to be a fully fleshed out tree. Like I imagine like almost like a Swiss Family Robinson Tarzan treehouse on top of this big attraction.
Is that supposed to be the tree from Mama Odie?
Yes, I believe so. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's going to be full of just like hundreds of like little fireflies. I think it has the potential to really be gorgeous at night. I'm excited.
If they implement what the concept art shows, especially at night, if they were to have like thousands of flickering lights, like if it would be the Louisiana Bayou fireflies and everything, that'd be awesome.
It would be absolutely beautiful. Now, in terms of the attraction itself, like once we dive into the actual attraction, what do you think? I mean, is Disney going to go in there, in your opinion, is Disney going to go in there and really alter the inside of this thing? Are they going to reuse a lot of stuff? What are your feelings on how far they're going to go with this?
I think based on the hype that it has gotten positively and negatively, Disney has to now fulfill in that gap for everyone to say, you know what, this was worth it. this was worth standing in a possible 2-hour line for. That we're getting rid of a beloved attraction for which people are happy about it, they're okay with it, or they're completely downright angry about it. So we have to fill in that gap to say, you know what, let's give the public, the audience, our guests, what they deserve.
Yeah.
And based on the layout of the ride itself, for how long it is, because it's about what, an 11-minute ride.
It's very long.
I mean, so they would have to stretch everything. So I think they have a lot of room to work with. So I really think that, and especially since what Disney has said was they're continuing the story. They're not redoing the original Princess and the Frog story. So they can pretty much put anything in there. A whole new storyline. They could add characters. The sky's the limit with that, because by continuing the story, they don't have to say, okay, well, this part of the ride would seem like it fit this part of the movie and this part of the ride. So essentially, when people think, okay, what does a drop have to do with Princess and the Frog? Well, being that they're continuing the story, it could be anything.
Yeah, that's that exactly, and they're smart to do that. That's a very, because if they were just to follow the movie, right, the storyline of the movie, they're locked in. It's sort of like Galaxy's Edge, I mean, it's sort of like Galaxy's Edge, where like if they were to pick a specific planet, they're locked into a lot of what they can or cannot do is very restricted. Now, if it takes place after Princess and the Frog, it's wide open. It's wide open. They can have Walt Disney Animation Studios help them kind of craft a cool story.
I think honestly, and with them to already have the riverboat at the end, they can plus that boat, make it. And they already have the animatronics on there. They can just reskin those and maybe make them be like the people of New Orleans. They can have it be where it's like going back to the bayou, where maybe like Lewis is playing his instrument along with all other critters and everything. Like they can do anything with it.
Yeah, totally. And I think they're going to do that. Like a lot of people have expressed concern online that this is going to be screen based, because that seems to be where the industry is going. I actually disagree with a lot of those people in this case, because Disney has so many animatronics in Splash Mountain. It would almost be cheaper for them to utilize those again, like you mentioned, to redress them, to reskin them. So I think they're going to go that route. Now, I do also think they're going to add a lot of new technology. Like I'm almost certain, considering the amount of magic is in that film with Dr. Facilier and what have you, and the fireflies and all that, they're going to have projection mapping.
That's what I was going to say. I think if they were to have a projection or screens or any type of that visual technology, it would more so be based upon Dr. Facilier and his friends on the other side.
Yes. Yeah, no, totally. And that'll be kind of weaved into the physical effects and the animatronics, very similar to what they did with Alice in Wonderland at Disneyland a few years ago. They added the projection mapping and the projections, but they were kind of very seamlessly weaved into the physical effects, in beautifully done. I love that what they did with that.
I do too. It's to go on Alice in Wonderland for what it was. I mean, it was already a great attraction, but they plussed it big time, and it works. It fits in so well because they implemented it where it wasn't like in your face, where it's like every scene that's what you see,
right?
But they intermixed it with the set pieces and the animatronics, so it harmonized within the storyline. And I think that's what they're going to do with this, because they have so much room inside that mountain. It would be sacrilegious to just cover it up with all screens.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be a disaster. Like to just go through this flume ride and just have screen tunnels would be an absolute disaster. And Disney isn't perfect. I mean, they do make mistakes. I'd be really surprised though that if they would go that route with this attraction. And on top of that, Tony Baxter is a consultant on this attraction. Now he's not like the lead Imagineer on the project or anything like that. He's a consultant. So technically, WDI doesn't have to take his advice. He's just there to consult. But like I said in my video a few days ago, like when Tony Baxter gives you advice, you should probably listen. And I think these Imagineers are smart enough to know that. So the fact that he's involved, I'm really, really, really encouraged by it. Really encouraged by it.
Oh, definitely. I mean, for Tony Baxter to want to jump on a project, and the fact that they're asking him to lead into this, the man behind the original Splash Mountain, Big Thunder, Indiana Jones, take his advice. Whatever he says,
Yeah, please.
just don't even ask questions. But I do believe an Imagineer, and I don't know if I'm right on this. I hope I have her name. Sharita Carter.
Okay.
I think I have her name correctly, but she is, I believe, heading the project of The Princess and the Frog, and she just got done doing Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
So that kind of gives me extra hope as well, because when you look at Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, you have that 3D mapping, you have that technology, but it's intermixed with animatronic set pieces. So I think that having Tony Baxter be like a senior consultant, and then having Sharita where she already knows that kind of technology and that storyline and how to intermix it, I actually have very high hopes for this ride.
Yeah, I do too. And then to close out on this subject, I'm really also like Princess and the Frog has a lot of great music, and like Going Down the Bayou and stuff like that. Like you could do a lot with the music, and it can be really catchy, and everyone's singing along. It's good. I think musically also, I think it works. And again, it's weird because they're changing the theme of Splash Mountain, but it's still in that same kind of general feeling, right? Of like that Southern, it's still in that same kind of vibe. So you're changing it, but yet it's still kind of familiar, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because with like the story like behind Splash Mountain with the Brer Rabbit story is that you have not just one, but you have several songs that are very catchy, that are very, it definitely makes you just want to like dance and get you in that happy mood, because you have, Zippity Doodah, you have How Do You Do, and Everybody's Got a Laughing Place. So when you have multiple songs in an attraction, that you would have to then try to tie in a storyline that, as you said, has similar qualities to it. So being that there's, Friends on the Other Side, you have Almost There, Going Down the Bayou, Dig a Little Deeper. I mean, you have all these great songs from the Princess and the Frog soundtrack that you can fit in within an 11-minute ride.
Oh yeah, easily. The material they have from that movie, visually, musically, they could do so much. If Disney gives the Imagineers a proper budget, it has the potential to even surpass the original. Absolutely. Now, I did want to touch upon, okay, I think it was it last week actually? I think it was last week. Disney announced that they're actually canceling the reopening date of Disneyland, which was July 17th, its 65th birthday. So they're canceling that. They cited in a press release it was due to, it wasn't in regards to any kind of uptick in COVID or anything like that, but it was more about, I guess, the governor or the state of California didn't release the official guidelines for theme parks, and there were some issues with some of the unions and what have you. What are your thoughts on this, on the canceling of the reopening date for Disney?
Well, if a lot of people thought I was initially upset by the change of Splash Mountain, this really is the icing on the cake. First off, I don't blame Disney whatsoever. Their hands are tied. They were ready for an opening. They put everything set in place. Obviously, you can't go against state law. They had to abide by it. So I applaud Disney for that notion that they're doing their best. And they're basically, of where everyone is with this new ticketing system, they're in a waiting room. And they're looking at the castle, the pink castle, while they're trying to do this ticketing system. That's Disney right now, Disneyland, with the state. And it's just, I personally feel, and this is just me, and everyone can have their own opinion, that's fine. And I think that's where I think everything just nowadays is just so blown up in proportion that no one can have their own opinion anymore.
Amen, George. I'm so sick of it.
It's like, I'm done. It's like, I don't want you to think the way I think. I think the way I think because that's my personal opinion.
Right.
I'm okay with you thinking about it another way.
Right.
So, just because I don't agree with you, that doesn't mean I don't like you.
Yeah, and this world would be such a boring place if we all had the same opinion.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, obviously if someone has an opinion that's hateful or something,
exactly. Yes.
I understand that. I mean, completely understand that. But when you're talking about just differences of opinion on innocuous stuff, like theme parks or whatever, people get so bent out of shape and it's ridiculous.
Oh, it is. And so to answer your question, I personally feel Disneyland has been ready. It could have been ready, honestly, in the beginning of June. And I even say that for Walt Disney World. I think now is the time that I personally feel, again, I'm not saying COVID-19 isn't a real thing. It is. I feel bad for people that have been sick. I feel bad for people that have lost loved ones. But I think right now it's the hysteria of fear.
Right.
People are so scared to make a move to think what is going to happen. But it's also in the same token that what's going to happen if we don't make a move?
Yeah.
Things are just going to just keep getting worse as far as like through the economy, through businesses, and then just we as a society, as people, we have to move on. And I think of Walt's perspective, as he always says, we keep moving forward, we keep going, we don't look back. And I think it would have been such, and I'm actually getting the goosebumps right now because just to the notion that Disneyland, in its history, it has never been shut down this long. What a privilege that would have been to reopen on July 17th, 65 years from when Walt stood in front of the castle giving his inauguration speech, the dedication speech. I mean, and that's what they could have done with Disneyland. Have Bob Chapek, have Josh D'Amaro, even have Bob Iger, have someone give Walt's dedication speech on the opening day, July 17th, for the reopening of Disneyland. I think that would have been beautiful. Yeah, it would have been perfect.
It would have been gorgeous. And I agree with you that, okay, I made a video the other day about this. And my whole thing was like, my whole perspective on this is I agree with you, is I think that it's time to reopen. And people kind of freak out every time there's an uptick on COVID cases. But here's the thing. I think it was even the CDC who said when you reopen the economy, you're going to have an uptick because more and more people are congregating, more and more people are mingling about, right?
Yes.
If you shut down, the numbers are always going to go down. But
exactly.
So that's okay. But then when you reopen again, they're always going to go up. So if you always get freaked out and like scared every time there's an uptick, then you would never reopen. So,
and I think with right now, what's being focused on is the numbers. And if people were to sit back and count the numbers for everything, numbers for flu, numbers for pneumonia, numbers for bronchitis, we would be freaked out about that too.
Right.
But no one ever really bats an eye to that because no one is following the numbers. Now, even though despite the numbers are going up, on the positive note, the number of deaths are still decreasing.
Good.
So even though it is rising that people are catching this, but the deaths are going down. And that, I feel, is a major step of what was done medically, that was done scientifically. Everything that they were working on is working because it's keeping people from dying. So despite, yes, you're going to feel crappy, you're going to feel like, and again, it's, you probably feel like you are dying, but as I said, and I do feel bad for the people who did lose their life over this, but now that they got control over this, and yes, as you said, if you close things down, the numbers are going to drop. If you open things up, automatically you're going to see a change in those numbers.
Of course. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. I mean, I think there comes a point. Look, I agreed with the lockdowns initially because at that point in time, we didn't really know a lot about the virus. So, you know what? It's best just to everyone lock down until we figure things out. But now I wouldn't say we figured it out 100%, but they know enough about the virus now and
they
how
got a grasp on it. They got a grasp on it.
Exactly. How it spreads, how contagious, what it entails. To reopen and sort of adapt like we did with many other viruses, like we do every year with the flu, like we do with HIV AIDS. You just kind of have to learn as a society that we have to move on and just kind of adapt to the new normal. And I just don't think that shutting down indefinitely is a good option. I really don't. And now, what are your thoughts on? Okay, so they canceled July 17th because of the unions and because of the state of California.
Right.
What's your best guesstimate in regards to when do you think Disneyland is going to reopen again? What's your feeling on this?
Being that the governor of California stated that he would give his announcement after July 4th, it didn't give Disney enough time to then have its reopen preparations for July 17th. However, I believe Downtown Disney is still reopening on July 9th.
Yes.
So they already have that set in place. So I really don't think that they're going to reopen Downtown Disney if the parks weren't going to follow by. So if I had to guess, I would think possibly by the end of July to the beginning of August.
Okay.
I think Disney would then be ready in enough time after the fact the governor gives his release after the 4th.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. I actually completely agree with that assessment. I think we're going to see like a late July, early August reopen, and we'll see how it goes. But also, I think Disney is going to start feeling a little bit of pressure from like Wall Street, because when you have Walt Disney World open, Universal Studios, Orlando, and all these other parks are opening around the world, and then Disneyland is still sitting here, shuttered. I think that Wall Street's going to start to be like, hey, hey, Disney, like, what's going on? I mean,
yeah, and especially with Hong Kong, because they announced their opening 3 days before they actually opened.
I know. And I love their new castle, by the way. I know a lot of people hate it, but
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I love how it's a completely different castle, because it always griped me that when I looked at Hong Kong's, it's like it's a replica of Disneyland's.
Yeah,
come on, let's do something new, And I honestly think that Tokyo should be next, because their castle is similar to Walt Disney World's.
Right.
So I think Tokyo should get a whole nother, even if it's like a steampunk type of, sort of like how they did like with their I forget what ride it is, but sort of like how like they have like that air and sea type of feel, like maybe make it more organic,
right?
That they can update their castle. But yeah, I think as you said, once July 11th comes and Walt Disney World opens, and then even July 15th when all 4 parks open at Walt Disney World, Disneyland, once July 15th hits, Disneyland will be officially the only Disney resort that is not opened completely. So I think, as you said, that's going to be the pressure. I think it's going to be Disney's own enemy when July 15th hits, because they're going to be like, okay, we have everything open but Disneyland. It's like, Come on, we have to push this. So I think if they can't open July 17th, but it's going to be the pressure after July 15th, I would say, honestly, within a week or two, Disneyland will be open.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. The pressure once all the other parks are open is going to be insurmountable, and they're going to have to address it, and they're going to be getting it from fans. They're going to be getting that pressure from Wall Street. They're going to have to address it. So yeah, that late July, early August timeframe is definitely plausible, probably likely, assuming there's no other curveballs that come our way. But you're probably right on that.
Yeah. Because with Walt Disney World, they said, despite everything happening, they're going full steam ahead. They're opening no matter what.
Wow. Well, they're already taking reservations and stuff. So they're kind of, at this point, they're all in. Disney World's all in. Like, I think the hotel guests have already been able to reserve their spots in the parks. And now today, annual pass holders were able to do their thing, right?
Yes. Well, annual pass holders started June 26th. And then June 28th was everybody else that already had tickets.
Gotcha.
But I'm hoping that Disneyland reopens soon, because if they do, I was going to try to sneak out for a couple days in August, if they were to reopen. So hopefully in that time frame I could be able to do so.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you, because I ended up retracting my partial refund, so I'm keeping my pass.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
So I got the extension, so
awesome.
I get to have a little more leadway for play.
Perfect. Well, George, thank you as always for coming on. I do appreciate you, brother. Go ahead and let everyone know where they can find you on YouTube and social media and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. You could find me and my other friends as part of the Grand Circle Tour podcast. You could find us on YouTube. We have our Facebook page, the Grand Circle Tour Magic Ticket Holders page. It's always a tongue twister for me. You could also find us on iTunes. You could listen to the podcast, and Stitcher. And also, I do have my very own YouTube channel. Unfortunately, right now it's down at the moment due to circumstances that's been going on. But eventually, when I do get my channel up, you can find me at Disney Family Man 23. I will be uploading videos soon, so definitely keep an eye out for that. And thank you for having me on. It's always great to chat Disney.
Yes, it is. It's always fun, George. And thank you all for watching. I do appreciate it. Have a magical day.